Zeke is not, bro. Zeke
You
is
are
not
tripping.
Consistent.
You're
He is
tripping.
not consistent.
You're tripping.
I don't know what to tell you.
You're tripping. Get help. Seek help right now. Seek it. Like, get off the show. This is my show now. I'm the host.
See,
we're gonna have Randy on soon. This is my show now.
Oh God.
It's the Alex Funderburke show. It's Almost Game Day with Alex Funderburke. I'm kicking Sean off. It's gonna be me and Randy after this commercial break. It's before game day now.
Before game day. That makes no sense.
What is up? On March 11th, I made a promise and I fulfilled that promise. This is my show now, Before Game Day with Alex Funderburke. Man, it feels good to be on this desk. First time I'm ever on this desk. We're live and direct, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna start talking some women's college basketball. It's no secret. The NCAA dropped the ball here. With the weight rooms, with the food, with the hotels, they dropped the ball. But these ladies have not dropped the ball. They've been hooping. We're at the Final Four now. We got South Carolina versus Stanford. In the Elite Eight, South Carolina defense was absolutely insane. They held Texas to 0 points in the fourth quarter. I don't know how you do that. Aaliyah Boston, their center, she's a stud, offense and defense. She's a matchup nightmare. And then you got Stanford. Stanford shoots a lot of threes. They nailed 43 threes in their first the first three rounds. And they had a huge comeback in the second half against Louisville in the Elite Eight. And then you got Arizona, the newbies. They're making their debut. Ari McDonald, she's balling out right now. She scored 64 points in their last two games to get Arizona to the Final Four. And then you have who I call the favorite this year, UConn, with Paige Bueckers, man. I mean, she is hooping. She had 28 against Baylor to send them to the Final Four. The first freshman to ever win AP Player of the Year. I mean, I can argue that Caitlin Clark should have won it, the freshman from Iowa. That's probably who I would have picked, but you can't go wrong with Paige Buckets. She averaged 20.1 points a game, shooting 52.8% from the field, and averaging nearly 6 assists. I mean, she's hooping for UConn. I personally would have gone Caitlin Clark just because if you take Caitlin Clark off of Iowa, they're not a 5 seed in the tournament. If you take Paige Bueckers off of UConn, they're probably at worst a 2 seed. But now I want to bring John in. John, how you doing, bro?
I'm doing amazing. It's so great to be on this Before Game Day with Alex Funderburke. Sean Green, you, sir, are fired.
Nah, for sure. But I want to talk to you about UConn. I think everyone loves Paige Buckets. You're the one that coined that term, Paige Buckets.
Oh, yeah.
What are your thoughts on Paige Buckets?
Oh, man. The nickname suits the player. You know, she's an automatic bucket. You give her the ball, you can just let her go to work. And, you know, in college basketball, especially women's college basketball, that's a huge thing to have. So it's no wonder they're in the Final Four. They're probably about to go win the whole thing. And then I'm going to cop my Paige Bueckers jersey. It's going to be in the mail.
For sure. I'm probably going to buy one myself, too. I think what's so special about Paige is she's only a freshman. Because there is no one-and-done rule in the WNBA. You have to do at least 3 years in college basketball. We're going to get the 2-star freshmen, Paige Bueckers and Caitlin Clark, out in Iowa for 2 more seasons after this. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping UConn and Iowa play each other every year because that Sweet 16 matchup, while the outcome was never in doubt, the game was a lot of fun seeing those 2 freshmen go at each other. And with Caitlin, not with Caitlin Clark, with Paige Bueckers specifically, just seems like anytime she gets the ball, it's like, yeah, she's going to score here. Like you call it, she's a bucket. I mean, absolutely insane. But I want to touch on Arizona. First time in the Final Four. They're playing great team basketball right now. Ari McDonald, 64 points in 2 games. I mean, what can you say? I mean, that's insane. What are your thoughts on the Wildcats, Sean?
Yeah, Arizona, you know, this is a team that I think they have the best ball movement in women's college basketball right now. They play a great brand of team basketball, and they're coming up with stops on the defensive end and forcing turnovers. So they're doing all of the things that win you basketball games. Will it be enough against UConn? That remains to be seen.
For sure, and that's the hard thing. It's like, yeah, you're playing well, but you're about to face a different beast here. I mean, UConn's insane. And another thing about UConn, though, is like Arizona, none of these girls have Final Four experience. No one on UConn has won a national title with UConn. UConn has not won a national title since 2016. So could this be inexperience versus inexperience, and maybe Arizona springs an upset? I don't know. But if I was a betting man, I'm going UConn here. But with the other game, it's a one-on-one matchup. You got South Carolina and Stanford. South Carolina, led by Aaliyah Boston. She 6'5" center, dominating on both ends of the floor. She's going to be hard to stop for Stanford. And you got Stanford. They shoot the lights out. And they have Russell Wilson's sister, which is really cool. So what are your thoughts on South Carolina and Stanford?
South Carolina, Stanford. This is going to be a very, as you touched on, it's a very interesting matchup. I think Stanford, this is a team, there's a saying in basketball, you live by a three, you die by the three. I think it's going to come down to, is Stanford knocking down these threes come this Final Four matchup? If they're knocking them down, if they're on, they're not going to be able to get beat.
No, I'm with you 100%. And what really impressed me about Stanford is they were losing big at halftime in the Elite Eight. And then they went out and outscored Louisville 62-25 in the second half, and they won 78-63. When this Stanford team is rolling, they can roll. But is it going to be enough to beat Don Staley's Gamecocks? I just don't know. But it's tough. And this South Carolina team's good. I'm going to roll with South Carolina in the Final Four. I think we're going to get a South Carolina-UConn championship game. John, what's your championship game prediction here?
I've got Stanford versus UConn, and I've got UConn by a lot in that game. UConn is going to get back to where they should be, which is the champion of women's college basketball, and I can't wait. Like I said, my Paige Bueckers jersey is going to be in the mail shortly.
Hey, I'm buying a Paige Bueckers jersey too, you know what I'm saying? But briefly, I want to touch on the men's Final Four. I know we've all been watching the tournament. What are your thoughts on the tournament as a whole so far? I mean, a lot of upsets, but kind of a chalky Final Four.
Yeah, this Final Four, it's interesting. In some ways it's one of the most anticipated, and other people will tell you it's the least anticipated. I really like what the Houston Cougars are doing right now. They're a little under the radar, but, there's an old saying my JV basketball coach used to say. He would say, offense sells tickets, defense wins games, and rebounding wins championships. Luckily, because of COVID, these Houston Cougars didn't have to worry about selling tickets this year. So they're doing the things that wins you games and championships. That's playing defense and rebounding. They seem to be doing that better than anybody. So I've got Houston winning the whole thing right now.
Really? So you have them over Gonzaga. What I like about that Houston-Baylor matchup is it's the number one defense against the number two defense. It's not going to be a high-scoring game. It might be like a game of 21. First to 21 wins the game. Yeah. But Gonzaga, man, I don't see anybody beating them. They're insane. I mean, top to bottom. Their bench could be starters for most teams. I know it's hard to go undefeated. We've not seen it since '65 with Indiana. I think this is the year. I think Gonzaga's going to win it all.
Here's my thing. If Houston can get them in a close game, I think they'll take it. I think Houston right here, like I said, they're doing the things that win you game. They're more physical than Gonzaga or Baylor, and when they get in there, they come in with that underdog mentality, that chip on their shoulder. They're going to out-hustle, out-rebound, and just be the more physical team.
I get that, and I've been on the Houston hype train all year. You can ask Tyler on the main show. I've been fighting him about Houston
I've been watching. I know.
That's
why I'm surprised you're not with me here, Alex. What happened?
I know, bro. It's just you played 4 double-digit seeds here to get to the Final Four. They're not battle-tested. And this Baylor team, I've said it all year long. There's one team that can beat Gonzaga. It's Baylor. They played team basketball. They played defense. I'm good. If there's a team that's going to beat Gonzaga, it is the Baylor Bears. And I don't think this Final Four matchup is going to be close. I think Baylor's going to run them.
I would agree. I do think Baylor is probably the most battle-tested team left in the tournament. And from a rating standpoint, you certainly want the Gonzaga versus Baylor championship. If you don't get the Gonzaga-Baylor championship, that's a loss for the NCAA. However, like I said, Baylor has let a lot of teams stick around more than they should. And if they let Houston stick around, they're going to be in trouble because this Houston team, they do everything they need to do to create extra possessions for their offense. So ultimately, I've got Houston, Gonzaga, and I think UCLA doesn't really stand a chance against Gonzaga. Gonzaga's a lock to be in the championship, and I think that's great because Gonzaga's really been a team where it's great to tune in and watch them. They do so many awesome, amazing things on the basketball court. So I'm going Houston versus Gonzaga.
I got you. So I got a question for you because I saw this on Twitter yesterday. If UCLA somehow beats Gonzaga, is that the top upset of March Madness history?
Of March Madness history? It's tough to say because it's really tough to say how this NCAA tournament and this March Madness is going to be remembered in history, because anytime there's a crazy upset in sports this year, you can just put an asterisk by it because of it's just a different format we haven't seen. There's no crowd factor, there's the bubble. So potentially I could see people writing it off, but as far as I'm concerned, we've got an undefeated 1 seed who's the overwhelming favorite against an 11. So as far as I'm concerned, yes, it would be the greatest upset.
See, I'm not mad at you putting it at number 1. Personally, I'd put it at number 2. I think you got to put UMBC as the 16th seed beating Virginia. I mean, and they didn't just barely beat Virginia. They beat the brakes off of Virginia. Yeah. They dominated that game start to finish. Personally, that's my number 1 upset, but I'm not mad if you would say this UCLA team, because, I mean, they were the last team in the tournament. They played in the first 4. There's only the second time a first 4 team has made it to the Final Four.
Yeah, it's like I said, Gonzaga, they are undefeated. They're overwhelming favorite. Do I think UCLA can do it? Well, probably not. But if Tiger Campbell plays absolutely out of his mind as the game of his life, then they might have a chance.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be a fun Final Four for sure. John, I want to thank you for joining me, and we had a fun segment. And when we come back, we're going to have Randy on. We're going to talk some opening day baseball. Baseball's finally back, guys, and some NFL Pro Days. So please stick with us.
Here's the story of a show creator who was gearing up to form a bigger crew.
One's a California guy,
a god of graphics.
One hosted Girls on Deck.
It's a story of a 4-year nightmare, which is finally coming to an end, thank God. And the new kid, a Packers lover.
Tampa forever.
So then one day all these people work together to face a year unlike one that's ever been. And his group rebranded in Orlando. That's the way we all became HTFN. 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 That's the way we became HTFN.
That's blasphemy!
What's up, guys? We're back, and I love that commercial, the Brady Bunch. I mean, we killed that. But I got Randy with me now, and we're going to talk some baseball. I want to start with big news from yesterday. We had Francisco Lindor re-signing with the Mets, 10 years, $341 million. And what I love most about this deal is not that one of my favorite players is on one of my least favorite teams. It's that the Mets paid him $1 million more than his counterpart Fernando Tatis got paid by the Padres. That's petty, and I love it. Steve Cohen, I don't like you, but good job. Randy, I mean, what were your original thoughts on this extension?
I thought a lot of money, right? Baseball contracts always confuse me because they make so much, but I do like the pettiness. I love pettiness in sports like this when it's just a little bit. We see it in other sports too. We see it in football with the Trent Williams deal, but I thought just having $1 million more was just enough to be intentional, not rude, but a little bit of pettiness there. I do think it's a good deal for the Mets. They get the face of their franchise back. I think it is, again, a lot of money to be giving to your shortstop, but definitely great to welcome back the face of their franchise.
For sure, and I'm excited to see how he does. But we got some breaking news right now. There's some big news in the NFL world. We got Deshaun Watson going to the Jacksonville Jaguars for the first overall pick. It's a straight-up move. Randy, what are your initial thoughts here? Because this is crazy. This is big news.
So I'm seeing that Chris Sims and Adam Schefter both believe that the Texans found their guy in this draft to replace Deshaun Watson, and that is Kellen Mond out of A&M. They liked what they saw at the Pro Day, and they decided, you know what, we need to move whatever we can, and that included Deshaun Watson. They don't need him anymore. He's just a distraction. He'll just be sitting on the bench costing them money. And the Jaguars were like, hey, we're willing to take him. And so Urban Meyer no longer gets Trevor Lawrence, and the Texans get their guy in Kellen Mond.
This is a shocking move here. I love the Kellen Mond pick. I've never been sold on Trevor Lawrence. It's been Kellen Mond or bust for me. But no, we're just playing. That was our little April Fool's joke. But we're going to get back to baseball here, Randy. So, Randy, who's your baseball team here?
So my favorite baseball team is the Red Sox, but for this game today, because our game did get postponed due to weather, I honestly like the Battle of Tampa today. You know, the Rays versus the Marlins. You have the Rays coming off their championship, getting ready to defend it. And then you have the Marlins with their new general manager playing in their first game. So I feel like that might be an exciting game at 4 o'clock.
That's gonna be a very exciting game because you got 2 stud pitchers. You got Tyler Glasnow. You got Sandy Alcantara. I mean, that's really going to be a fun one. But I want to talk about your Red Sox real quick because I'm a Yankee fan, so I hate everything about Boston. I hate the Red Sox. They got canceled today, but I don't know what your expectations are for this season, but I'm not expecting much out of them. I mean, they don't look good. No pitching whatsoever. Their lineup's okay. They'll get Chris Sale back eventually. But what are your expectations for Boston? Do you want to make the playoffs this year?
Honestly, my expectations are pretty low. Like you said, our team isn't where it should be. Like you said, no pitching whatsoever. We do get some guys back. We do have a great line, but I don't have any expectations for the team at all. Playoffs would be a pipe dream, I think, for this roster that they put together. I think that they're just going to, go through the season, go through the motions and everything. Unless we get like super hot throughout the season, I don't see us being able to make playoffs this year. Now, your Yankees, though, I do think your Yankees are going to go pretty far this year.
I mean, the Yankees are exciting, but it's always a question of can they stay healthy. If they can stay healthy, I'm with it. It's going to happen. Like, they're going to at least get to the World Series. If they're hurt, who knows? I mean, the Blue Jays are going to be hot on their tail this year once they get Springer back. But I want to turn our attention to NFL Pro Days because the NFL Draft is coming up. It's a pretty big deal. I want to talk about Justin Fields, Randy. I mean, this dude killed his Pro Day. He ran a 4.4 and just looked absolutely incredible. What were your thoughts watching Justin Fields?
So, first off, that was the best QB workout I've ever seen. I mean, he was phenomenal. He saw Zach Wilson's tape of the long bomb and said, hold up, let me top this. And then also to run the best 40 time since RG3 did. I mean, he's electric. He's been fantastic. I think he definitely rose his stock a little bit. I still think he goes number 3 to the San Francisco 49ers just because he absolutely showed up and their other option there did not show up that day.
So you're a Niners fan, right?
I am, yeah.
So are you okay with Justin Fields going there?
I am phenomenal with Justin Fields. Justin Fields, I think, would be a great fit for the team. I think that he would be a phenomenal asset. He definitely brings something else with his mobility, but I also think he fits a Shanahan offense. I think there are a few quarterback prospects in this draft that fit that, and there are some that we have no business taking. But we'll get to that later, but I definitely think Fields would blossom in Shanahan's offense.
So we're going to get to that right now. I'm going to give it to you. Tell me why you don't want Mac Jones.
Oh, man, I do not like Mac Jones at all. I think Mac Jones might be one of the worst quarterback prospects in this draft. I mean, you go to your pro day and you miss 12 throws. How do you do that at your own pro day? That's like going to your own birthday party and messing up. Like, the pro day is to make you look good, and you failed at that. And you don't have a combine to fall back on. You have your pro day performance, and it was awful. It was terrible. I also don't think he fits Shanahan's mindset of what he needs as a QB. He needs somebody that is able to move around a little bit, and he doesn't have that. Granted, he did run a 4.85, which is pretty good for him, but it's also really slow. And then he just looked awful. I mean, I think he did have that one play where he caught a pass off of like a Philly option type of thing. And, I think the Patriots might be looking into that because, Tom Brady can't catch any passes in Super Bowls, but Mac Jones can. So that's definitely something they could definitely be looking into.
Yeah, no, if he goes to the Patriots, right off the Patriots for a while, because once Cam leaves, I don't trust Mac Jones either. It's just something about Alabama quarterbacks, man. Like, Tua's kind of the first one to, break that mold, where I'm not necessarily worried about Tua being good. But, I don't know. You're throwing to Devontae Smith, and you have Najee Harris as your running back. It's hard to be bad with that, I'm not a Mac Jones believer. I haven't been since the season started. I don't know. He'll be a game manager. That's it. But I want to talk about my GOAT, my king, the guy I think is going to be the second best quarterback, or I should say the best quarterback not named Trevor Lawrence, because Trevor Lawrence is he's up here, everyone else is kind of down here. And that's Trey Lance. This dude is a baller. 2,786 passing yards, and then he added 1,325 rushing yards, had 48 total touchdowns, 2 turnovers, only 2 turnovers, and never lost. I mean, I get it. He's an FCS quarterback. He played for North Dakota State. I get it. But this dude can ball, and I think anyone passing on him, besides the Jaguars, who are going to get Trevor Lawrence, is making a mistake. This guy is going to be a household name in the NFL within 5 years. Randy, what are your thoughts on Trey Lance?
I said earlier that there were 2 QB prospects that I think would fit the Niners perfectly, and I think Trey Lance is the other one. I think that he is definitely getting overlooked. I feel like a lot of people are undermining him because he did go to North Dakota State. But I mean, all throughout 2019, he had no turnovers. Like, this man does produce on the field. I don't really like the argument, the level of competition isn't there, because it's a game. Everyone's trying their hardest. That's a knock that's given to Trey Lance and Zach Wilson. And I think that it's just one that you can't really use because you come to play the game. You try your hardest no matter who your opponent is. And I think Trey Lance, I honestly do think he's going to fall because people look at North Dakota State and they immediately think, oh, this is going to be a Carson Wentz scenario where he might have a good ceiling, but he's definitely a risky pick. I think he's going to fall down to the Panthers at 9. And I think that'd be a perfect fit for him because he has been getting some comparisons to Cam Newton, and that offense is definitely built for him. So I feel like if the Panthers get him at 9, that might be one of the few great picks for that franchise.
I know that's a great spot for him because he doesn't have to start right away, right? They have Teddy Bridgewater. He can learn for a year or two and then take over for Teddy. Because while Teddy is good, I don't think Teddy's a long-term starter. Like, I'm a big Teddy Bridgewater supporter. I love the guy. But I don't think he's a long-term starter in Carolina. So if they go get a Trey Lance who can play similar football, right? I think that's a perfect fit. Another fit I like, and I hate that I like this because I hate this team, is the Patriots. If he somehow slides all the way to the Patriots and he teams up with Cam Newton's going to teach him how to protect himself because as a young guy, Cam Newton didn't protect himself when he was running. Cam Newton's going to teach him the ropes. And then the Patriots are going to be deadly for a long time if they get Trey Lance. And that scares me. So Panthers, please take Trey Lance. Please. I don't want to deal with Trey Lance on the Patriots. I want to get a Trey Lance jersey, and I'm not getting a Patriots jersey. I just can't do it. But you did mention somebody that I don't like at all, and that's Zach Wilson. Do you like Zach Wilson? Are you a Zach Wilson believer?
I think he's going to be good for the Jets because I do think the Jets are going to snag him. I think he's a great fit there.
I don't know what it is about him, but he just reminds me of Josh Rosen. I just think he's going to be on a practice squad in 3 years. Yes, he looked great his last year at BYU. He's a stud. He's a great college quarterback, but I think he's exactly that. I think he is a great college quarterback. I don't think he's going to translate well, and you're putting him into a dumpster fire of an organization that is the New York Jets. I just think that's a bad recipe.
See, here's the thing that I say, and this is for basically all NFL fans out there that aren't the Jaguars. If your team does take a quarterback, they're most likely not playing this year. So it's exciting to get them, but you're going to have someone else there. The Jets probably are going to start Sam Darnold unless they can get somebody to take him, which I don't think they will because Darnold's not that good. And they don't want to throw Zach Wilson into that dumpster fire, let him sit for a year, and just watch and get ready to the game because the speed is definitely faster, like you said. So he's not just a really good college quarterback that fizzled out. The Niners aren't going to start their guy unless they can get Jimmy G traded for a first-round pick, which I don't think anyone is willing to give that up for him. He's a game manager. And then you look at the Panthers. Panthers are going to start Teddy Bridgewater. So if your team drafts a QB this year, they're not starting. They're definitely going to be sitting for a year unless you're the Jaguars and taking Trevor Lawrence. That's the only one.
So even if, let's say, Justin Fields goes to the 49ers, you don't think they're going to start Justin Fields?
No, I think Justin Fields is going to sit for a year unless they can get Jimmy G for a first. And the only team that I think would be even remotely interested in that is the Patriots because the Patriots do love him. But I don't think they're willing to give up that first. I do think, like you said, if Trey Lance is available, they'll take him, especially after seeing Bill Belichick's reaction to Mac Jones's pro day and, again, missing every throw. Him just shaking his head. When Bill Belichick shakes your head at you, you know you're probably not going in the first anymore. You probably fell down to at least the second, but I would say most likely the third. I think if they do take a quarterback, it would be Trey Lance, but then that would be a great fit for them. But like I said, I don't think any of these quarterbacks except for Trevor Lawrence will be starting on their teams this year, aside from injury or a major trade, such as like a draft day trade for Sam Darnold or Jimmy G.
See, that's strange to me because I think, let's say at 3, your 49ers take Justin Fields. I think because you traded for that pick, I think you would be in kind of like the position the Browns were in with Baker a few years ago, to where like you kind of have to start him. Like, I get it, you have a guy there. The Browns had Tyrod Taylor, like, but you got it. Like, this is your guy. Like, you kind of got to play him. Otherwise, though, I do agree. Trey Lance is probably going to sit a year, but I really feel like Justin Fields will be starting the NFL next year.
I mean, Alex, you mentioned Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield only started because he got the starting quarterback got hurt. That's the only reason he started. He wasn't the initial starter day one. And you shouldn't throw a rookie into initial starting potential without some help, right? The Niners have a great roster. I think any QB they take will be good because that's a playoff roster. But I do think there will be competition in the camp, and I think Jimmy G will emerge as a victor unless he gets traded. And then everyone always says this every year. It's always an excuse for when a quarterback plays bad with Kyle Shanahan, and it's that it takes a year to learn the system. And so if you let Justin Fields sit for a season, he can learn the system. And to be fair, it probably will be a Baker situation because Jimmy G's bones are super brittle, and he gets hurt just walking onto the field. He'll probably get hurt right around week 4, week 5, and then Fields is going to have to start. So that's probably what is going to happen, similar to the Baker situation. And then Jimmy's gone. So I don't think he's going to win a battle in camp. I don't think he's going to emerge as the victor. I think Jimmy G will be the starter at the beginning of the season for the 49ers if they don't trade him. But by the end of the season, that story may flip.
Hey, I could see it. I think, though, with Justin Fields or Trey Lance, the 49ers are going to be deadly. Like, what are you, as a Niners fan, like, go full Niners bias here. In a couple years, if they have Fields or Lance, what, like, are you Super Bowl or bust?
I honestly think with the roster that we have, the offense and the defense, I think with a competent QB such as Fields or Lance, it's a Super Bowl. We'll win one within the next 5 years.
That'd be exciting to see. I think so too. I'm really high on those two guys. But I want just one quick pick real quick. Who is someone that everyone is sleeping on in the draft? That isn't Trey Lance, because I think that's an easy answer.
I think people are sleeping on Jamar Chase. I heard that Burrow is really searching for him, really looking to promote him for the Bengals pick, which makes sense. They did play together. But I do feel like he's definitely being slept on by some teams. Another one would be Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts just destroyed it as his pro day, so now he's kind of going up a little bit. I do see him going probably 6 to the Dolphins to give Tua some help. But those two guys, I feel like aren't getting as much coverage. They are now because of what just emerged about them. But Jamar Chase is definitely one that I feel like people are sleeping on. Because I've heard people say, oh, he's going to the Bengals, and then people be like, that's such a bad pick for them. I think that'd be fantastic. I
like it.
Pair him up with Burrow, pair him up with Higgins. That offense would be phenomenal. Now, if
like
Sewell's on the board, you have to take Sewell because you don't want Burrow to get hurt because that's your franchise. But I think Sewell's going to go to the Falcons.
For
so
sure.
I think you have to take Chase.
For sure. I like those picks for sure. But that's all the time we have today. I want to thank John for coming on, and thank you, Randy, for coming on. We had a great show. Stay tuned for the rest of the week. For next week, we're going to keep pushing out great content for you guys. Thank you. Be easy. Peace.